Hey there. I get it when you're staring at a price tag on a table saw. You're wondering if that investment is going to actually make the difference in your shop, or if you're just buying a glorified piece of metal. You've probably already Googled a few models, watched a handful of unboxing videos, and maybe even asked a friend who just upgraded their bench. Before you drop your hard-earned cash, let's walk through the real-world experience of the Powermatic 10-inch table saw, Model 64B, and see if it really lines up with the promises it makes. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First off, the biggest hesitation most people have is whether a 10-inch saw can actually handle the kinds of rip cuts you need for everyday projects without turning the whole operation into a compromise. The Powermatic's 30-inch rip capacity is a solid middle ground. It's big enough to comfortably rip standard 24s and sheet goods, but it doesn't balloon into the size of a full-sized cabinet saw that takes up an entire wall. When I set it up in a modest-sized garage, the saw's footprint left just enough room for a workbench and a couple of tool cabinets. The base is a thick cast-iron trunnion, which feels rock-solid once you lock the blade in place. That stability translates directly into less vibration, so your cuts stay true even when you push a full-width board through. Now let's talk about the first thing you'll actually do after you haul it out of the box, getting the blade and guard ready. The quick-release mechanism on both the blade guard and the riving knife is a genuine time saver. You don't have to wrestle with Allen wrenches or mess with a bunch of screws. Snap the guard off, drop a new 10-inch blade in, and click the guard back on. The riving knife follows the same toolless pattern, and because it stays close to the blade, it does a decent job of minimizing kickback, something that can be a nightmare on cheaper models where the knife wobbles or has a lot of play. Safety is another area where the Powermatic tries to earn its keep. The Accu-Fence system locks the fence rail directly to the trunnion without any slop, which means the fence doesn't drift when you're making a long rip. In practice, I found that I could set a 0.5 mm fence offset and walk the board through the cut without having to keep adjusting. For anyone who does repetitive rip cuts like building cabinets, shelving, or even a series of picture frames, that consistency saves both time and frustration. The work surface is a precision-ground cast-iron top with a beveled edge. It's not just about looking sleek. The beveled edge lets you slide a board right up to the fence without the blade chipping the edge of the workpiece. I noticed the difference when I was trimming a hardwood board for a tabletop. The clean edge meant I didn't have to sand down a rough spot later. The surface also resists dents and scratches better than the typical laminate tops you see on entry-level saws, so it holds up when you're dropping heavier pieces or using clamps. If you're the type who runs a dust collector or at least a shop vac, the built-in 4-inch dust port is worth a mention. It's not a massive opening, but it aligns well with standard dust extraction hoses. When I connected my shop vac, the dust plume stayed largely contained, and the cleanup after a day of ripping was noticeably less than when I used a smaller benchtop saw with a makeshift port. That said, the port size means you won't achieve the same suction efficiency as a dedicated industrial dust hood, but for a home workshop, it's a respectable compromise. On the flip side, there are a few practical downsides you need to factor into your decision. The cast-iron base makes the saw heavy, easily over 200 pounds. Moving it from one spot to another isn't a weekend project. You'll need a sturdy dolly or at least a pair of strong helpers. If you have a limited shop layout or you need to store the saw away when not in use, that weight could become a pain point. Also, the model runs on a single-phase 115/230V motor. For most U.S. homes, the 115V option is fine, but if you opt for the 230V version, you'll need the appropriate outlet or a dedicated circuit, which could add a small electrical upgrade cost. Another hidden trade-off is that the Powermatic doesn't come with a rolling stand. Some competing brands bundle a mobile base that lets you wheel the saw around, but Powermatic expects you to have a fixed bench or to purchase a stand separately. If,